The Statue of Liberty was not born as a statue. It was born as an operation, a political idea, a technical undertaking, a desperate fundraising campaign, and in the end, an ocean voyage made in pieces. And above all, it was born from a simple but weighty question. How do you build a symbol that must speak to 1 million people without saying a single word? France, years after the American Civil War. The United States emerged devastated but united. Europe, meanwhile, was full of tensions, monarchies, revolts, and power-changing shape. In France, there was a man, an intellectual and politician, Édouard de Laboulaye, who looked at America as a successful experiment. Not perfect, not clean, but real. A republic that, despite everything, had endured. The original idea was simple: to give a gift to the United States, not a painting, not a medal, a gigantic monument, visible from far away, that would say one precise thing. Liberty is a project that must be built and defended. But an idea like that needs an artist, and above all, it needs someone who is not afraid of scale. In Paris, a sculptor received an absurd proposal. His name was Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi. He was ambitious, stubborn, obsessed with gigantic monuments. Bartholdi immediately understood one thing: if the statue was going to become a symbol, it could not be small. It had to be enormous. It had to dominate the space. It had to seem impossible. He traveled to America. He searched for the right location, and when he saw the island at the entrance to New York Harbor, he knew that was the place. Because anyone arriving by sea would see it first, before the buildings, before the streets, before everything else. That decision changed everything. Because when you place something at the entrance of a city, you are not just building a statue. You are building a message of welcome and also a warning. Here, values matter, or at least they should. Now comes the part that almost no one imagines. The Statue of Liberty is not a solid sculpture. It is not a block of stone. It is a metal skin stretched over a skeleton. And that was the first great challenge. How do you build a figure dozens of meters tall that must withstand wind, cold, heat, rain, and remain standing for generations? The answer was a specific material: copper. Copper is relatively light, easy to work with, and over time it protects itself by forming the green patina that everyone recognizes today. But copper alone was not enough, because a copper skin by itself cannot support its own weight. It needed an internal structure, a framework. That is when a name enters the story that is often overlooked. Yet without him, the statue would never have existed in the form we know today. Gustave Eiffel. Yes, that Eiffel. Eiffel and his team designed the interior the way they would design a tower. A strong central structure, surrounded by a system of supports that held the copper skin without locking it rigidly in place. This detail was essential, because the statue had to move. Not enough to seem unstable, but enough to avoid breaking. Wind pushes metal. Heat makes it expand. Cold makes it contract. If you make it rigid like a rock, sooner or later it cracks. So Eiffel created something remarkably intelligent, a system that allowed the statue to live. And how was the copper skin made? Not from thick slabs, but from relatively thin sheets shaped using a technique called repoussé. In practice, the copper was hammered and formed until it created precise shapes. The curve of a face, a fold in the robe, a lock of hair, a crease in a hand. It was an enormous task, slow, almost obsessive. And while the statue was taking shape, Bartholdi did something very practical. He built sections. He assembled them. He took them apart. He checked them again. He was not simply an artist carving a monument. He was managing a construction project. Meanwhile, around that Paris workshop, the simplest and most brutal question of all continued to grow louder. Who was going to pay for it? The original agreement was clear. France would build the statue. The United States would build the pedestal. It sounded simple. In reality, it was a nightmare, because the statue cost a fortune, and the pedestal cost a fortune as well. People applauded when they heard speeches about liberty, but when it came time to contribute real money, many disappeared. In France, subscriptions, events, lotteries, and private donations were organized. Piece by piece, the necessary funds were raised. In the United States, however, the situation stalled. Funding for the pedestal could not be secured. Work slowed down. The project risked becoming an international embarrassment. And then something happened that feels surprisingly modern. Mass communication entered the story. A publisher and journalist named Joseph Pulitzer used his newspaper to launch a public campaign, not just for the wealthy, for everyone. The message was direct. If you want this symbol, prove it, even with a little, even with a coin, even with $1. And it worked. Thousands of small contributions poured in. Construction on the pedestal resumed. The Statue of Liberty was not only a gift from above, it was also something built through the participation of countless ordinary people. Meanwhile, the statue in France was nearly complete. It was assembled in Paris as a full-scale test, piece by piece, to make sure everything fit perfectly. The copper skin, the internal framework, every connection. Only after everything had been thoroughly checked did the next enormous challenge appear. How do you get it to New York? The Statue of Liberty is divided into hundreds of pieces. Each piece is numbered, organized, and packed. It is pure logistics. Because if you lose a piece, if it gets bent, if it gets damaged, rebuilding it becomes a nightmare. The pieces are placed into crates and loaded onto a French ship, the Isère. And here the symbol becomes almost comical when you think about it. Liberty crosses the ocean locked inside boxes. During the voyage, there are storms as well. And at that moment, the story becomes even more powerful. Because if the ship sinks, you do not lose a shipment. You lose years of work, money, reputation, and a symbol before it is even born. The ship arrives, the crates are unloaded, and the island chosen years earlier finally becomes a real construction site. The island is called Bedloe's Island, today known as Liberty Island. The pedestal, designed by architect Richard Morris Hunt, is ready, or almost ready. It is enormous, massive, built to support a giant. It looks like a fortress, and in a certain sense it is. Now, the assembly begins, and it is a moment that few people truly visualize. There are workers assembling the internal framework. Others attach the copper panels one by one, and every piece must return to exactly the right place, like a puzzle that weighs tons. When it is completed in 1886, the statue is inaugurated. From that moment on, it is no longer just a project. It is a fixed point, an object that enters the collective imagination. But the Statue of Liberty is also a symbol of contradictions. The liberty it represents is an ideal, not a photograph of reality. In the very decades when the statue is being built and inaugurated, the United States is marked by enormous social wounds, discrimination, tensions, poverty, rights denied to many. So the statue is not proof that everything is fine. It is the promise that things should become better. And that is precisely what makes it powerful. Not because it describes a perfect reality, but because it places a goal in front of everyone and forces you to measure yourself against it. Then comes the most powerful transformation of all. It is not a technical transformation, it is a human transformation. Between the late 19th and early 20th centuries, millions of people cross the Atlantic toward the United States. Many arrive exhausted, sick, frightened. For countless people, the first sign that the journey is over is her, the statue. And here the symbol changes its purpose. At first, it is a political gift, a monument to friendship between nations. Then it becomes a gateway, a signal, an emotional boundary. On one side, the sea you have left behind. On the other, a city you do not know. And in between, an enormous figure that does not speak, yet makes itself understood. Now let us look at it closely, without mythology. The statue is made of copper on the outside. Inside there is a metal structure. The crown has 7 rays, often interpreted as a reference to the continents or the seas, an idea of liberty that seeks to be universal. In the left hand there is a tablet bearing a date, July 4th, 1776. The date of the American Declaration of Independence. And beneath the feet, there is a detail that many people do not know well: broken chains. They are not always visible from certain angles, but they are there. It is a clear message. Liberty does not simply mean welcome. It also means breaking something, breaking a bond. And here you understand why Bartholdi conceived her as a figure in motion. She is not seated. She is not standing still. It is as if she is moving forward. And the torch has its own story as well. Over time, it has been modified and restored because an object exposed to the weather for decades never remains exactly the same. The statue has become a construction site many times throughout its life. Maintenance, reinforcements, restorations, upgrades. But why a woman? Because during that period, liberty was often represented as a female figure connected to artistic and symbolic traditions that were widely known. A figure that is not a real person, but an idea made human. And yet Bartholdi made her modern, strong, almost severe. She does not smile. She is not gentle. She has a face that seems to say, liberty is not comfort, it is responsibility. And if you look carefully at the way she was built, that message is technical as well. It is not a delicate monument. It was designed to endure. The Statue of Liberty is not famous because it is beautiful. It is famous because it stands in the right place, at the right moment, with the right meaning. If the same statue had been placed in an inland park far from the harbor, today it would probably be just a large statue. Instead, it stands at the entrance. It is the first thing you see when arriving by sea. It is a signal before it is a work of art. That is its true stroke of genius. Not only how it was built, but where it was placed. It has lived through more than a century of history. World wars, crises, social change, waves of immigration, political conflicts. And yet it is still there, because it is a symbol built from metal and bolts, but it speaks of something that is never guaranteed. Liberty does not arrive complete. It does not arrive already assembled. It must be built piece by piece, and if you stop building it, it falls. And perhaps that is why, even today, that figure holding the torch remains so powerful. Not because it promises a perfect world, but because it reminds us, without mercy, that a better world is a continuous work in progress.